Could it get more American if we tried? Manhattan Skyline and the two muscle cars of the moment, Camaro ZL1 and Mustang GT500. Between them they have 1,259 horsepower, and yet they cost a lot less than a 997 Turbo S. So I've got 2 days with these cars. I want to drive them in New York because that's a fun thing to do, and then I want to drive them on a circuit, and then I want to reach some conclusions about the two of them. As a European, I'm massively excited because they're so powerful and they represent so much value. Let's get it on. So is this the worst place on the planet to drive a car? Could be, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Could be. Anyhow, at least I've got a Camaro ZL1. I suppose I need to get that straight first, haven't I? Am I going to call it a ZL1 or a ZL1? I suppose being in America, I also call it a ZL1. Luckily and handily for these purposes, General Motors has decided to detune the ZR1 Corvette engine and put it in a Camaro, and it's only got 588 horsepower. Get that, detuned to 588, 566 foot-pounds of torque, and I'm going to be able to demonstrate about 7 of those, I would have thought, where we're going now. Initial thoughts then. It's not a difficult car to drive slowly, this. Not a difficult car at all. 3 pedals, clutch is fine, gearbox is light. We forget that, don't we, that if you had a car with this much power 15 years ago, actually they didn't exist there, but a mega horsepower car had awful slackness in the gear shift and the whole transmission moved around on rubber mounts and it felt horrible. This doesn't feel like that. There's a little bit of slop, but it's tight and it's easy to drive. I like the cabin too. This thing is $48,000 basic, so it's kind of slightly well-equipped 325i BMW money. I mean, and you get 588 horsepower. I don't have very good form with New York City. I've been here once before, and I got off the plane, had a good afternoon, and then the lights went off. This was August 2003, I think it was, when they had the blackout. I got stuck here for 2 days. I spent $500 to sleep on some stranger's floor one night. So I don't have much good history, but I do find it a great place to come and potter about, and it's good for cars too. You see some really interesting cars because people just seem to use some quite old eclectic stuff and leave it on the street side. This morning I saw a BMW E28 525e and was just cooing all over it. People thought I was mad, but it looked so incongruous and cool next to all the other new modern cars. Oh look, G63 or G55. G55. Are you allowed to drive G55 if you've not got a Russian passport and a cocaine habit?
You have a lot of looks around here, though, in these two cars, that's for sure.
That's what it's all about, though, isn't it? They are partly about being seen and heard, aren't they? They're pretty good at it, too. I'm at a red light, and it's a clear road ahead of us, so the temptation is to make a load of noise, but I don't know. Is it a bad thing to do in New York? What's it like in first gear? It's quite quick. I went a bit more than 30 then. What's the speed limit here? It's a lovely thing to tool around in. I like it. The seat's nice. Everything, they've been quite clever here. Everything that you touch has got sort of Alcantara on it. It's all the contact points. It's a stumpy little gear lever here, which looks like it was just nicked from an M5, actually. Feels great because it's all quite soft touch. I like this thing. Strangely, when I said I liked it, everyone back at the drive office just went, ugh, it's Camaro, I don't like them, it's wrong, it's, you know, they're all very pro Mustang. Of course, being a complete foreigner, I don't really understand the complexities and the subtleties of the Ford versus Chevrolet thing. I just want to take them on merit, really, and judge them. This, to me, feels like a nicely resolved car. Someone spent a bit of time making sure that it shifts gear well at low speed, that the engine's got usable torque. I mean, it may have massive numbers, but it's up to you how much you use of it. And that's all I'm going to say about driving the ZL1 slowly, because we need to go and do some stupid stuff with it, really, don't we? So this is a Mustang GT500. Its numbers are so extraordinary, I'm not even going to mention them now. I'm just going to sort of settle myself into the beast, and then we'll discuss the numbers in a minute, because they are, frankly, ridiculous. This is a bit brutal, isn't it? Jesus. Talk about a short shift. To quote the best motoring journalist cliche of all, it's like a rifle bolt. Me, that's fast. He's got loads of grunt. I feel like I'm sitting in a Range Rover though. I'm too high relative to the steering wheel. If I was to get twirly and oversteer, I could probably shave my testicles with the bottom of the wheel. It's actually not the easiest car to drive slowly, this, whereas the ZL1 really does just feel to me like any sort of three-pedal American fast car. This is a bit more difficult. The clutch bite point is high. Because of this seat being in the wrong position, my angle of attack from my knee down to the pedals is a bit funny. I'm sitting too high relative to the wheel. And of course, there's that power figure. We'll come to it now. 671 horsepower. Say that to yourself. 671 horsepower through effectively a live axle. It's just barking, isn't it? Who was it who said, sort of post-Lehman, that Ford and GM were going to have to sort their shit out and stop making muscle cars? Well, you know, a few years later, we're at the 670 horsepower Mustang mark. So someone called that wrong, didn't they? Torque, 631 foot-pounds. I mean, it's a monster. It's a much, much more powerful machine than that yob yellow thing behind me, which itself is crazy enough. I love it. And the price of these things, I mean, you know, they are 35 grand cars if they were to be sold in the UK at the same price as they are over here. So you can have the thick end of 700 horsepower for the price of a sort of mid-style 3 Series BMW. Isn't that something to be celebrated? You know, when it gets to that sort of level, I don't really care about the way they handle or whether they're as good as a BMW M3. It makes no odds whatsoever, does it? Obviously, I'm a limey tourist here today. We've driven around New York and we've seen a few bits and bobs, but JF said, if there's one place you want to go to, where would it be? Times Square, all that sort of stuff, not really very interested. I like the Chrysler building, but I've seen that before, and I've been at the Empire States and we're in cars. But there was one place I wanted to visit, and I've always wanted to visit ever since I first saw a little program called The Sopranos. I wanted to go to the Bing. Who wouldn't want to go to the Bing? I mean, not go into the Bing and use its services, obviously, because I don't need a happy ending as we're speaking now. But here we are, the Bing! Boy, do these cars get some attention. They look and sound the part, and most of Manhattan appears to adore them. Even the local police.
So that's 3 pullovers in literally 1 hour, and every time you've gotten out of it.
There's something to be said for mooching and posing in them, because they're not actually that good on the open road. I tell a lie, that's unfair on the ZL. The GT500 skips over bumps, the power delivery is pretty savage, and the exhaust noise is grating. The ZL is much more composed. In fact, it's just a nicer, fast road car, quieter and easier. But do you buy muscle to be easier and quieter? I don't know. Let's go to the track and wreck some tyres before we even attempt to answer that one.
Okay, we're at Monticello Motor Club now and finally had the chance to use some of this massive amount of horsepower. We're in the ZL1 first, the weakest by some margin. How often do you say that of a car that has 580 horsepower? This is quite a heavy brute though, 1,860 kilograms. So I don't expect, given that it's about 85 degrees outside, to be able to pound around for too long. So let's go and do a couple of laps and just see how the car behaves. And for me as a European, you know, I have to say, people like me have quite a jaundiced view of these American performance cars, too big, too heavy, and not really on a par with the Europeans. But these are quite serious performance cars, you know, they've got a lot of performance. Motor's great, but it doesn't feel like it's got 580 to me. Maybe that's because it is so heavy. Brake pedal, a little bit blunt. To me, feels like sort of M3 performance and a bit. I've got the safety systems on at the moment, and it's really working hard at the back axle. We have got oversteer whenever we want it, boys. Bodes well for later on, that does. Do you know what? As a European, this does not feel at all bad, this thing. It's not the last word, but it's pretty good. It's really pretty good. I have to say, initial thoughts, this car's hugely benefiting from having an independent rear end. It doesn't feel like the most sophisticated rear end, but it does feel, well, I know, it goes over bumps in the middle of a corner and doesn't get spat sideways. And the chassis is not being completely overpowered by this engine. Not by a long shot, actually. It feels like quite a nice balanced package. Yes, now we can let it move around a bit. But its advantage over the Ford is it's got a 305 section rear tyre. So less power, more mechanical grip. It's kind of quite a useful recipe, isn't it? If I'm full power here, I can't make the thing drift. Surprising, slightly strange car we have here, Thomas. I'm properly trying to back it in, but it won't do it. Maybe the ambient temperature isn't helping the old girl. Here's a good question to ask yourself on a Thursday afternoon. What does 671 horsepower within a body weighing 1,747 kilograms feel like when it's transmitted to the road via a live axle? Welcome to the GT500. I'm leaving all the systems on to start with. First things first, this seat, I'm sitting too high. I've already got traction issues and I've just used about a third of throttle. Yeah, this is going to be a handful, this thing, isn't it? What an engine. I mean, so much more powerful than the Camaro engine. Yeah, I mean, this car is dominated by its motor. It's an engine looking for a chassis. I'm not convinced it's found it in this particular car either. Well, now we've got the back axle absolutely having a massive tantrum with itself. God, it just feels so much faster in a straight line. Braking, okay. Yeah. Has it got a spool diff on it or something? It just feels like a drift car. I think it's extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. And anyone from my continent that sniffs at it not being as, you know, dignified as an M3 can sod off, because this is properly exciting, this thing. Properly exciting. The engine just keeps going, and rarely has a car said to me as clearly and as loudly, please turn the traction control off. Please turn the traction control off. This is a factory car, you know? 670 horsepower. It's not some tuner nonsense. This comes with a warranty. Oh, I do like it. I do like it. It's crude and it's... But you know what? For all that crudity, it's just much more exciting and much faster than the Camaro. Where there's no bumps, the live axle isn't as much of a problem as you'd expect. But when there are bumps, it's not ideal. There. It's making me wait an eternity to get on the gas. It's so much fun though. And it's the same price as a loaded up 325i.
These are actually quite different cars. The Volt is lighter, more powerful and generally crazier. The Camaro is much more rounded, in as much as I can imagine living with it every day the way I could, say, an Audi RS or an AMG Mercedes. How you judge them clearly depends on your Chevy or Ford affiliation, but once you've chosen your tattoo, it actually comes down to what you expect from a modern muscle car. Because I'm a limey not regularly exposed to this stuff, I wanted to rip my arms off and scare my children, and the ZL doesn't do that. It's too good for that. Despite giving away power and weight, it was 2 seconds faster around Monticello in my hands, but in the land of muscle, bad is good, and the GT500 is the baddest of all. Now, how do I import one to the UK again?